Hello, my name is Fiona, and I am a certified teacher and a Praxis coach with Study.com. Are you planning to take the Elementary Education Content Knowledge Test 5018? This is a multi-subject exam. These problems will cover the subtopic of the United States history. Let's review some of the types of questions you may encounter on the exam. Let's get into it. Problem number 1. What legislation led to the creation of the Air Force, National Security Council, CIA, and the Department of Defense? National Security Act of 1947, Militia Act of 1903, National Defense Act of 1916, or National Emergencies Act. Let's review each from bottom to top. The National Emergencies Act was passed in 1976 and established the rules for the federal government's response to emergencies, so we can eliminate that one. The National Defense Act of 1916. With this bill, there was the expansion of federal power and funding for all branches of the military. It also required that the production of war materials be fairly priced. We can eliminate that one as well. The Militia Act of 1903. So the Militia Acts of 1795 were repealed, and in 1903, they established two classes of militia: the Reserve Militia, which was all able-bodied men aged 17 to 45, and the Organized Militia, which is the National Guard, and both received federal support. So that is not the correct answer either. Now we're left with the National Security Act of 1947. This was the mandated restructuring of American foreign policy and military organization. And this included the creation of the National Security Council for the purpose of creating and implementing foreign policy. So President Harry Truman passed the National Security Act of 1947 to combat the Soviet Union and communism. This led to the creation of the Air Force, National Security Council, CIA, and the Department of Defense. And that is our correct answer. Problem number 2. Oppressive laws passed by the British in the years leading up to the American Revolution were known as Saratoga Acts, Colonial Acts, Intolerable Acts, or Oppressive Acts. We can eliminate immediately Saratoga Acts and Oppressive Acts. As far as I can find, there is no evidence of either of these existing. Next, we're left with Colonial Acts and Intolerable Acts. The Colonial Acts were the Stamp Act, Sugar Act, Townshend Acts, and Intolerable Acts, which together contributed to hostility, discord, and discontent amongst the colonists, which in time inevitably led to the American Revolution. The Intolerable Acts, also known as the Coercive Acts, were a series of laws passed in Parliament in London, England, to punish the colony for the Boston Tea Party. These included the Boston Port Act, the Massachusetts Government Act, the Administration of Justice Act, the Quartering Act, and a fifth one is sometimes included, though is unrelated, and that was called the Quebec Act. So these intolerable acts referred to 4 different laws, as mentioned, passed by the British in response to the Tea Party. These acts placed burdensome and expensive regulations on American colonists who responded through organizing and protests and eventually rebelling. So the correct answer is the Intolerable Acts. Problem number 3. What was the role of the French during Pontiac's conspiracy? What was Pontiac's conspiracy? Also known as Pontiac's War or Pontiac's Rebellion. In 1763, a loose confederation of Indigenous Americans who were dissatisfied with British rule launched this uprising after the French and Indian War of 1754 to 1763. And what was the role of the French during Pontiac's conspiracy? New France and Pontiac allied against Nicolas Hurontaine, the Huron leader. Pontiac had also been an ally of the French during the French and Indian War against the British. That said, the French did not actively support the military effort, they simply encouraged it. So let's look at the answers. To encourage the Continental Congress to extend Western boundaries and place that land under French control. So that is not the correct answer. From the bottom, to collaborate with the British military against Native Americans to secure the boundaries established by the Proclamation of 1763. We can eliminate that as well. To engage with Native Americans over the boundaries established by the Proclamation of 1763. That's not correct either. So the last one, to encourage Native Americans to fight for land and return it under French control. And that is indeed the correct answer. Problem number 4. When did Texas become a state? 1825, 1812, 1845, or 1850? Notable things that happened in the other years. In 1825, the Erie Canal was built. In 1812, there was the War of 1812 between the United States and Great Britain. 1850 saw the Fugitive Slave Act, which provided for the return of slaves who had moved to free states. But in 1845, Texas did become a state. Prior to this time, it was an independent republic. 1845 is the correct answer. I hope I was able to answer your questions so that you now have a better understanding of the topic of United States history. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel so that with Study.com's help, you will feel confident and prepared on exam day. Bye for now.